Hello, hello, hello. Well, welcome to another slice of life, the journey with Georgianne Thomas. I'm so glad you're staying with me. Right now, we're in the 70s, the 1970s, I believe. I try to remember. There's so much that goes on in my life. I'm trying to bring you from, I brought you from Pulaski, almost from 1942 when I was born, until the 70s. And I think I was talking about a divorce, but I always have a little music something for you. And my music something for you today was that I actually could put my hand, both hands, both fingers on the piano and look at the notes, and they have and I can play Oscar the octopus. Oscar the octopus. But now the left hand, I don't have a one note, but just the idea that I have come such a long ways. I'm just so happy about my keyboard. I feel like I'm somebody, I really do. So let's talk about this divorce. Well, because the person is Evelyn's father, and he's still living, and he's not doing well, that I won't just go all the way in. Actually, I'm not going to go in. I'm going to make it as general as I can, but it was not the best. And it takes two to divorce. I always say that. So whatever part I played, whatever part we played, we both had some parts in there. But it was really, really, you know, I don't know when men will understand, or maybe there's some women out there too, I don't know. But you can't punish the mother. You can't try to punish the mother, because in the end, it's the child that suffers. If you remember that, if you are a brother that's sitting with somebody, or you're watching this and you're upset with the mother, you could be upset with the mother, but you know how we say happy wife, happy life? It's the same way with the mother. If the mother, the less stress is on the mother, the better for the child. You know, if the child sees you crying, and the child knows, like, kids know more than you think they know. Evelyn knew a whole lot more than I thought she knew. I was trying to be a protective mother, a protecting parent, and it wasn't working. I didn't do the best job. I did the best I could. I think that's when you see children grow up and say, I'm going to buy my mother this, or I'm going to get my mother that, because they have seen the sacrifices that mothers and single fathers make. I mean, that child didn't ask to come in the world. And because she and her dad, but just because her father and I didn't get along, didn't have anything to do with the child, you see. And the child should not have to suffer. I don't know why people think if you make the mama suffer, then the child is going to be all right. That's not the case. Why would you have the mother out, needing a place to stay, a roof, all of that, So let me did I tell you about this? Did I tell you about, maybe way back I told you about going to Colony Square? Did I tell you about that, and then getting a nursery school? Maybe I did. If I didn't, my mom wanted me to live in Colony Square after we couldn't live where we were living, because we were displaced. And so I didn't know what a Colony Square was. She found it. My mother was a mess. Georgia was a mess. Anyway, she found this place. They were wanting $500 a month. Now you think about Colony Square now. My condo would have been paid for. It was a new word, condominium. And I said, this is just like an apartment. That's what it looked like, okay. Anyway, I had my little young daughter, and then I was thinking that was too much money for my mother to pay for. I wasn't going home. I did end up going home in the middle of something else, but we haven't gotten to that part of the year yet. So it was going to be $500 a month. And she said, well, we can work it out. And I was thinking, no, Ma, you all can't pay that kind of money for me. No. When you can go right over here in Landrum Arms and pay, maybe it was 100 and something. I don't know. But anyway, I had a nursery school. So my mother said, well, let's get a nursery school. So I did that, and so I ran into a person that wasn't a good person. And sometimes we get caught up. You know why I like Bishop Blake? I listened to him. I didn't have Bishop Blake in the 70s. He's a kid himself. He just in his 50s. You know, I'm his mother. I'm his mother. You see, he's the same age as my daughter. And so, you know, sometimes we get caught up for the wrong reasons. The person was smart and Morehouse, and I'm Spelman, he was Morehouse, and so forth and so on. And people didn't know what was going on. Here I come. I still forgot to bring something. I ended up writing a book, a pamphlet. I have the original pamphlet that I wrote. Who was trying to help me? It was Audrey Halliburton and the late Gloria Bernal and Beverly Fontaine Williams. Those three ladies. And the Ponders. Whatever Ponder you want. Jackie Ponder, the late Billy Ponder, and all the Ponder children. So I ran into this person. So it was good. You know, it's always good in the beginning, right? It's good. It's good. Everything was good. We had a fabulous connection. I had a nursery school, prosperous nursery school, and he had a hair care manufacturing plant. And so, you know, anybody who knows me know I've been a hair kid. You know, I wanted to be a hairdresser in my other life. And I tried, that's why my daughter and I own about 4 hair salons. I just like all of that. So anyway, I digress. I don't know what's going on with my eye today. I apologize. This is the eye that had the stroke in it. They just want to act up. Just stop be trying to act up. No, I'm going to be 81 Wednesday. Oh, no. Today is Monday. I'm not going to be 81. I forgot. Reset. I'm going to be 71. Anyway, whatever age. So I met this person. We were just what you call a power couple. A power couple. We had this. I don't know why I didn't get myself together today. We had this. He had a manufacturing plant out on Seelig. Yes, and he knew Mr. Seelig. We had a boat. You know, had all the trappings. One day I came home. We had a new Cadillac in the yard. I didn't know whose it was. It was mine. You know, all the trappings. We weren't just stuff. But it was a hard life. So it was a hard life. So I had, on one hand, nothing, not a whole lot for the child. And on the other hand, I was saying, well, we got to get something, you know, we got to just work towards the child. Nobody else. Now, I didn't ask anybody else to join me. I got to work for the child because she didn't ask to come here. And she needs to have a good life also. And I need to have one. Educated woman. I had my master's by early age because I think Atlanta Public Schools required. And I started on a doctoral program, and I had a bad accident. So I dropped out of the doctoral program and just tried to make it. It was rough being a single parent. But, you know, there's nothing like determination. I look at myself and I see determination. But determination doesn't come without God. It does not. You can have determination, but you got to have God on your side. And I had God on my side. I'm sorry, y'all. I keep dressing because this just did not work out like I wanted it to work out. I was trying to match up all this. I think it's all right. Anyway, you got to have God on your side. And you got to believe, you see. So I heard a voice in the 4th grade, I think I told you, about being an entertainer. And I just was suffering on the inside. Nobody knew how much I wanted to do something else other than what I was doing. I suffered so much. I always think my 3 cancers was from years and years of hiding who I really was, because
the education part said I should be an academician, and that's where I should be. That's what I should be doing. I had and still have a love for learning and research and students, and that the whole knowledge thing. I'm kind of a undercover nerd. Let me take you back. Did I tell you that we used to go to the library and get the classical records? Yeah. I was a Rachmaninoff fan. Yeah. Nobody knew that while I was dancing to in the basement with Jennifer. We were dancing to the great band songs and whatnot, but in the background would be Rachmaninoff. Just like the strength of the piano. Maybe that's why I'm here today. Okay, so it was a rough time, but I was with this person. I was with this person for 3 years. It took me 3 years to get away. It was the Ponders, Audrey Halliburton, the late Gloria Bernal, Ray Bernal's mother, out of Gary, Indiana, and Beverly Fontaine Williams. Didn't know many people because I didn't want people to know that part, that any of that was going on. I wasn't doing anything with anybody. I wasn't doing anything with sorors. Nobody knew anything about where I was because it was a mess. So the day I got away, the day I thought I got away, so I had two getaways. One getaway is when the people up in Mayfield, Illinois, came and got all my stuff, and the sheriff was there. I had to get the sheriff there to get all my stuff, and packed it all up and just took it, And then I went up to stay with my mom, where I could have gotten a job at either her school, where I did do some work at the school, or I could have taught school. I was just so despondent. I didn't know what to do with my little self. And then, because this would be a second divorce, but this one, it was a life or death situation. I had to give up my school. I just had to go. So, and then, I had a child. So my mother put her in private school right away, Catholic school, I think. And it was, I don't know, I didn't want to be in the North. I didn't want to be in Gary. I didn't know to go ahead and get a teaching job and enjoy Gary in Chicago. And all the things I thought I wanted to do, I could have done them in Gary because I had an awesome base. I had my mother's business associates. I had Trinity Baptist Church. I had my class of 1960 Frable High School. People knew me and I knew them. Just being a Gary girl. And so I didn't do that. I wanted to be in Atlanta. I did. Because I told you when Alvin took me up to D.C., I was like, you going to bring me back to some snow? You going to stay up here. I'm going back to Atlanta. So, one thing after another, I had a long, rough period. RUFF period. But I knew that I had a child. And I remember something happened really bad to me. Really, really badly. I've never told it. And it's just really bad. And so it was, my daughter was 9 or 10 years old, maybe 10. Anyway, once I got through that situation, I had begged to work at Delta Airlines, by the way. I didn't have a job. I didn't want to go back to teaching school. Let me tell you why. People back then, when you got divorced, and you didn't quite fit the profile in Atlanta. I wasn't married to an Atlantan, born and raised in Atlanta. All his friends he was a big Omega. All his friends were who they were and are, and those who are still living. He was everything in Atlanta. And my friends had husbands, and nobody wanted the single woman around their spouse. I didn't have a base. I lost my base. The family were Atlantans. and nobody picked me up and said, come on, I got you. And the 2 or 3 in the family did speak to me. It was cursory, and I think they kind of liked me, but they didn't try to see what can I do. You know, they kind of stayed on the peripheral, so they could. I felt like they could go back and forth, and they would stay safe, and they wouldn't be in it. You know, my name is Bennett. I'm not in it. So James Ely, I had taught school with his wife, and he was at Delta Airlines, and I said, for 3 years, I cried almost before I could get a job out there. He wouldn't hire me. He didn't hire me because he said, you were such a good teacher that all you're going to do is come over here and work a little while. You're going to go back and teach school. I said, no, I'm not. He said, I'm not hiring you. He didn't hire me. Pat Randall, the late Pat Randall, he did her the same way. I think Pat was the secretary and I was school teacher, and he knew us from there. But this was when I wasn't teaching. This was, I don't know what I did for money. I think I had a Section 8 house and some food stamps for about 5 minutes. I didn't like any of that, but I didn't know what to do. And everybody was trying to get me away. They were like, you're going to do this. They did it for me. So, like a nut, we went in hiding, but he found me, and that was not good. And then we went in hiding again, and he never found me anymore. And then I got a call one day, he had passed away. But we stayed in hiding 5 years, I think. You know, hiding in plain sight, but not really. Anyway, I could tell you some stories, but I won't. Delta Airlines, that I get over in the 2000s, and I'll tell you those stories. Right now, we're in the 70s. I think in the middle of that, is that where I messed up? I lost my music. Okay, so I was at Georgia State working on a doctorate, somewhere in there. No, let's back up. Let's back up. Let's go to, let's back up. I got to go back to Mr. Long, because I was over there teaching school. And then, let me back up to Mr. Long. I love Mr. Long. We had a good time. You talking some young, fabulous teachers. That crew over there at Cohen, that was it. But they came through and decided they were going to get the best teachers all across Atlanta and take them to integrate. We had the nerve to repeat that. We're the best teachers in Atlanta because we're going over to Northside. So I was the first female black teacher at Northside. I think I had a friend already there. And then there was a German woman. She and I came to Northside. I taught Vicki Crawford and the Jesse Hill's children and some more people. You all know who you all are. But anyway, it was something teaching over there because I was a holistic teacher at the other schools. I was a holistic teacher. But when I got to Northside, so I'm back still married. I got to back up a little bit so I can tell you this. You know, when you teach your own children, you can say, look, little girl, come here. Where you going looking like that? We don't look like that. Young man. Young man. No. Or you could just say, come on, yeah, let me get you all up. Come over to my house. We'll have a conversation. That back then you could do that. You see, I'm just saying that it was a way you taught school. I taught French, but you also taught life. And at Cohen, you taught life. We raised up some students. We raised up some students. They came from Murphy. No, they went from us to Murphy High School. You see? We raised up some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I got selected to go to Northside High School to teach. Lord help me. J.K. Smith was the French teacher over there, the male French teacher. We were awesome, but I didn't know anything about Jewish holidays, and so we had Jewish holidays, and people wouldn't be there, and I didn't know about, it's good learning. for me. Good education, I should say. And then, but I had another education. I used to love the janitor staff over there, because I would have them not, when they would clean the board, I had a section of my board I didn't clean, because I got tired. So you call them Becky and Karen now. I didn't have a name for them back then. I got tired of these people questioning the German teacher and I whether or not we could speak the language. Who? You have to get the certificate to teach. I mean, please. Anyway, I wrote on the board my name, my master's degree, my Canadian, my Sorbonne, and my Laval, and my Angers. I kept all that on the board, because when he would say something, I would just point to the board. Isn't that crazy? Who does that? I mean, why? Who does that? When I was qualified, they couldn't speak a word of French. One day I said, you know what? I'm going to follow my my heart. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I got to go. I can't be over here with this. I can't do this. Because I was going to jail. Somebody was going to jail. Probably wasn't going to be them. It was probably going to be me. But somebody was going to jail. You know, because you couldn't come talk to me. Anyway, I quit. I quit Atlanta Public Schools. I threw my hands up in the air like I just didn't care. And I had it made, but I messed up. So we want to hear about the second shooting in the foot. So let's start with let me give y'all my good ones now. Remember, I couldn't go to bandstand, and so I didn't make the bandstand. When I was in Canada, I was able to model, but when I came back to model at Riches, they didn't take me. I don't know why. I had the look, they said, but something. I don't know what the something was. I didn't make it. And I was small, tall, 5'11". And I came back from Canada, I probably wore 8. Or I think an 8 was too big. I needed to be a 5 or a 6. Okay. So I get a card in the mail. So I go and try out for some acting jobs in Atlanta. Yes, I did. And I get a card where I'm selected. Mess up number 2. The card said, you are the principal. So principal in my mind was the principal at the school. I know what the heck the principal was. That's 1, ignorance. 2, I decided that my own hair, well, I didn't wear a wig. I didn't wear that kind of wig. I had interviewed in a black wig with bangs, because I like bangs, obviously, and some big old curls, you know. And I was 30-something, looked good. And they said, you got the job, and to show up at Amos. I think it was Amos Drugstore. What drugstore was on the corner of Hunter Street and Ashby? Whatever drugstore was, the Amos or Tibbs. Anyway, so did I show up looking like the interview? The other person there was, what's his name? Sam Jackson's wife. She was the other person there. We both taught school. I think she taught at Washington High. But she was the other person there. Did I show up like at the interview? No. Ignorance 2. I showed up in some kind of hair of my own that I had decided should be afro something with streaks. The man asked me where was the wig? Where did my look? And I said it was at home. He said, you can't get it. I was too ashamed to say, Across the street was Bronner Brothers. They had them lined up over there all day because I had up $35 to go get one. I didn't have $35. I was up there on the wing and a prayer, and I didn't say. I could have said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," but they sell the same wig across the street. You know, could we go get it? I'll pay you back and take it out. I didn't know to do that. And so the man was so angry, I couldn't understand why. And the featured person wasn't me. It was, I wasn't the principal when it came back. All you saw was my arm, some kind of pretty bracelet I had on. Sarah Coventry bracelet. And it was for Schlitz beer. I was so embarrassed. I didn't tell anybody. I'm saying it now. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, that would have, just the money from that would have taken me to the next level. Matter of fact, somebody else might have liked the way I look, because Schlitz liked the way I look, you know, and I missed. I was so embarrassed. And there I was trying to say, oh my God, what am I going to do to eat? You know, I didn't want to go home. I didn't have anybody to ask for anything. I called some people the night this very bad thing happened to me, and nobody helped me. The only person who helped me was Audrey Halliburton. Nobody. I'm saying nobody. Sure didn't. They acted like I was the scum of the earth. And we were just friends the day before. But I wasn't a friend. They did not remain friends with me. And it hurt me so badly. But I made it through. So Alvin is 10 maybe. And I finally get hired at Delta Airlines. Woo! February of 1979. And I get hired at the airport, and I show up at the airport. And people didn't show up at the airport back then because you had to go through cabin service. That's what they used to do, make you clean the planes first. But they didn't do me like that. They just said show up. And I didn't stay there long because they needed somebody, Carter. Carter must have been president, maybe, going into presidency. But Delta Airlines had to put some black people somewhere. So Mr. Cox, John Cox, let me tell you something. We haven't had any more John Cox. Mr. Cox was the best. Some people didn't like him. I don't care. Mr. Cox made sure that Delta Airlines stayed on point. And black people got jobs and got contracts. And he and Maynard made some rich people in America. He did. But he just said, y'all need to do it. If I had Mr. Cox when I went and applied for a contract with Delta, when I applied for a contract with Delta, that was here in the 2000s. They had 1% minority, and they had nobody, was what I was talking about, which I won't say. Nobody was doing what I was doing, nobody. They were like, what? And I had the lowest bid, sure did. Angela Carson Williams and all of us, we bid on that. It took a lot to bid. It was about 7 to 8 of us working tirelessly. My daughter too at that time, because it was in 2000. We just did everything. We had the lowest bid. We even had an awesome presentation. It broke me. Broke my heart. It was I tell you, Georgian skin treats. You know, I had my own line of products. But let me go back. Where am I? I'm just getting to work at Delta Airlines, and they moved me over to the public relations department. They had pictures of people picking cotton on the walls. Like, what? Oh, God. I'm sure nobody paid attention to it till I got there. And then that was in that person's office. It was a lot. It was difficult. You know, but I had a friend who kept saying that, Georgianne, you know, you got a daughter. You got to work. You got to stay on point. Sometimes you have to stay on point, young people. You have to swallow. You may not want to, but I swallowed because I had that child that I asked to come here. Things were not falling in place. My girlfriend told me, she said, you got good insurance. You can take her places. You can do something with her. Raise your child. Close your mouth. I tried. So I'm not going to tell you because we're running out of time. You know, but I'm grateful to say that I got kicked out of public relations because I had other people kicked out with me. And they were at higher level than me, but we all had 1, 2, 3. First 3 black people in public relations got moved swiftly. You know, but I'm still grateful for my work at Delta Airlines because at some point I made it. I found my, water finds its own level. And I found mine at the airport. I had the French and I had 5 languages by now. By then, yes. I met good people like Bruce Wayne McMillan. You got to have somebody shepherd you along. He was a good person for me. He was a good person. And Sandra East Jackson. You got to have people to just say, wait, Georgianne, this is what we're getting ready to do. And I don't know why I can't think of some of my supervisors. I had Jonida Mitchell, who taught me how to wear a uniform. Ooh, that girl was fine. She was a soror too. Had some good sorors that were working. It did a lot. I could go anywhere in the world, and we did. It just made a difference. It was bad. Now the person who did harm to me, I'm gonna tell you what God would do. This person did harm to me. I'm gonna tell you how God will hide you. Oh, my time is up. But I was walking through the airport, and the person was in front of me. I promise you, the person was like, I could touch him. He never saw. I asked God to put a shield around me, and he put a shield around me. He never saw me, and never saw me anymore because we stayed in hiding for 5 years. I love you, and you can't do anything about it.